She went for a short hike on a quiet autumn morning and never came back. What began as a peaceful walk through Pine Ridge Trail soon turned into one of the most chilling murder investigations the small Oregon town had ever seen, where every clue led deeper into betrayal, obsession, and a secret someone would kill to keep hidden. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth through the winding paths of Pine Ridge Trail. It was the kind of peaceful October day hikers longed for, mist curling between trees, leaves crunching softly underfoot. Around 7:30, a local jogger named Lisa Hart took her usual route through the lower loop of the trail. As she turned a corner near a small clearing, something caught her attention. A light blue backpack sat abandoned beside the path, slightly unzipped, with a water bottle leaning against it. Lisa slowed her pace, calling out, but no one answered. She hesitated before stepping closer, noticing the faint indentation of footprints leading off into the woods. Kneeling down, she peeked inside the bag and froze. There were neatly folded textbooks, a nursing badge, and a student ID with the name Emily Carter. The sight sent a chill through her body. The backpack looked freshly placed, untouched by weather or animals, as though its owner would return any second. Lisa dialed 911 with trembling hands. Within an hour, police arrived and cordoned off the area. The quiet forest transformed into a scene of flashing lights and murmuring investigators. The shoe prints were clear but led deep into the trees before vanishing on rocky ground. There was no blood, no signs of struggle, only silence. The officers scoured the surroundings, marking evidence with yellow flags, while a light fog began to roll in, blurring their outlines. By afternoon, word had spread across the small Oregon town that a young nursing student was missing. Her car was still parked near the trail entrance, keys inside the glove compartment. As night fell, the forest grew darker, and the unanswered question echoed through the trees. Where was Emily Carter? Emily Carter had always been the kind of person people remembered. She carried a quiet confidence, the kind that came from years of hard work and genuine kindness. At 22, she was in her final semester of nursing school, known among her classmates as the one who never gave up, no matter how exhausting the shifts became. Her professors admired her dedication, and patients she cared for often asked for her by name. Emily had dreams of working in pediatric care, inspired by her younger brother's long battle with illness. Friends said she talked about helping children the way others talked about fame or fortune, with passion that came straight from the heart. Outside her studies, Emily loved nature. Hiking was her escape from the stress of exams and clinical rotations. The Pine Ridge Trail had always been her favorite place to think, breathe, and recharge. She often shared photos from her hikes, sunsets through tall trees, quiet rivers, or her running shoes resting on a rock after miles of walking. Her life appeared full and happy, at least from the outside. On the day she disappeared, Emily had planned a short hike before spending the evening preparing for an upcoming hospital interview. She texted her roommate early that morning, saying she needed some fresh air before the big week. Later, around 11:30 a.m., she sent another message saying she was almost done with the trail. That was the last anyone heard from her. When investigators spoke to her friends, none of them could imagine her running away or meeting anyone in secret. Emily wasn't reckless or impulsive. She followed routines and trusted her instincts. Her disappearance didn't make sense. The thought that something bad had happened to her felt unthinkable, until the evidence began to suggest otherwise. By the following morning, Pine Ridge Trail was filled with search teams, their bright jackets dotting the forest like small bursts of color against the misty green. Police officers, volunteers, and local hikers joined forces to find any sign of Emily Carter. Helicopters hovered above the treetops, while K-9 units followed scent trails that disappeared near the northern ridge. Drones scanned every open patch of land, but the dense canopy made visibility difficult. For 3 long days, the forest echoed with calls of her name, each one fading unanswered into the trees. Late on the first day, a volunteer discovered a crushed phone under a rock close to the main trail. The case was cracked, and the screen was shattered, but the wallpaper, a smiling photo of Emily in her scrubs, was still visible beneath the spiderweb of fractures. Forensics later confirmed it was her phone. Her last recorded photo, taken minutes before noon, showed a narrow path ahead, framed by tall pines and scattered golden leaves. No one else appeared in the frame, but investigators couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been nearby. By the second day, divers searched the nearby river, battling the current as onlookers gathered near the bridge, whispering prayers and fears. Each hour that passed without a clue deepened the sense of dread. Search teams found faint traces of disturbed soil near a fallen log, as if someone had stumbled or been dragged, but there was no clear evidence. As the third day ended, rain began to fall, washing away tracks and hope alike. The search was scaled back overnight, leaving only a few patrols in the darkness. Flashlights flickered between the trees, cutting through the fog, but Emily remained missing. The forest, once peaceful, now felt like it was holding its breath. On the fourth day of the investigation, detectives focused on a small clearing near the upper ridge of the trail where signs of a temporary campsite had been found. A torn tent, a pile of ashes from an old fire, and scattered beer cans marked the spot. Investigators soon learned the site belonged to a man named Daniel Price, a 35-year-old drifter who had been seen in the area days before Emily's disappearance. Daniel had a long record of minor offenses, trespassing, theft, and disorderly conduct, but nothing violent. He lived out of his truck, moving from one campsite to another, picking up odd jobs in nearby towns. When officers located him at a rundown motel 20 miles away, he appeared calm, almost indifferent, as they questioned him about Emily. He claimed he hadn't seen anyone matching her description and insisted he kept to himself that weekend. Yet, when detectives searched his campsite, they found something that didn't fit with his story. Among the ashes in the fire pit was a half-burned page torn from a notebook. The handwriting was neat, rounded, and written in blue ink. Forensic analysis confirmed it matched notes from one of Emily's nursing textbooks. The discovery raised immediate suspicion. Daniel denied knowing how the paper ended up there, saying he had picked up trash left behind by others. His fingerprints were found on the notebook scrap, but not on any of Emily's belongings. Investigators remained divided. Some believed he was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, while others were certain he had seen something he wasn't admitting. As night fell over Pine Ridge, detectives couldn't shake the thought that Daniel Price knew more than he let on. Somewhere in his silence, they felt, was the key to what had happened to Emily Carter. Detectives turned their attention to the area surrounding the campsite, determined to piece together the events of that weekend. Just beyond the tree line, an officer noticed something easily missed by the earlier search teams: fresh tire marks cutting through the damp soil of an old maintenance road. The narrow track wasn't open to the public, yet the imprints suggested a vehicle had passed through recently, heading away from the main trail. Investigators followed the path until it merged onto a rural highway. A request was made to review footage from nearby gas stations and convenience stores along the route. At a small station 6 miles away, security cameras captured a red pickup truck leaving the area around noon on the day Emily vanished. The footage was grainy, the driver's face obscured by glare, but the truck's details matched one registered to a woman named Marissa Clark, Daniel Price's former girlfriend. When police contacted her, she claimed her truck had been stolen 2 days before Emily disappeared. She insisted she hadn't seen Daniel in months, though phone records showed several calls between them just a week earlier. This discovery complicated the investigation. If Daniel had used Marissa's truck, it could place him near the scene at the exact time Emily went missing. Yet there was no proof he was driving it that day. The tire tracks near the trail matched the same model, but the rain had blurred any chance of identifying the tread precisely. Forensic teams collected soil samples from the truck once it was recovered, hoping to match them to the dirt from Pine Ridge. Meanwhile, investigators began to question whether Daniel Price had truly acted alone, or if someone else had helped him cover his tracks. The case was becoming darker and the forest's secrets deeper. A week after Emily's disappearance, hope began to fade. Volunteers stopped showing up in large numbers, and the once bustling search site grew quiet. Then, early one morning, a lone hiker following a narrow stream deep within Pine Ridge stumbled upon something pale beneath the water's surface. At first, he thought it was a mannequin tangled in reeds, but when he moved closer, the truth hit him with a force that left him breathless. It was a body, partially submerged, caught between fallen branches in the shallow creek. He ran for help, his voice shaking as he made the call that would end the search but begin something far darker. When investigators arrived, the scene was somber. The creek was calm, the water clear, and Emily Carter's body lay still, as if sleeping. Her clothes were damp but intact. There were no visible defensive wounds, no torn fabric, no obvious signs of a struggle. Her backpack strap was wrapped tightly around her wrist, almost like a restraint. Detectives noted faint bruising on her temple, and the coroner later confirmed the cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head. The discovery raised more questions than it answered. There was no sign of robbery. Her jewelry and phone case were recovered nearby, though the phone itself had been crushed. It seemed deliberate, an attempt to destroy evidence. The medical examiner estimated she had died the same day she went missing, sometime between noon and 3 in the afternoon. The community that had prayed for Emily's safe return now mourned her loss. Candlelight vigils were held outside the university, and her classmates placed white flowers along the trail entrance. For the police, the tragedy only deepened the urgency to find out who had turned a peaceful forest into a crime scene. When detectives examined Emily's apartment, they found her laptop open on her desk, a half-finished essay on the screen, and a planner neatly organized beside it. Everything looked normal until a digital forensics team dug deeper into her files. Hidden within a password-protected folder was a series of personal photos and messages exchanged with her clinical supervisor, Dr. Andrew Wallace. The discovery came as a shock. Wallace was a respected figure at the local hospital, known for his charm and professionalism. The tone of the messages, however, suggested a relationship that had gone far beyond mentorship. The emails and texts painted a complicated picture. Emily had written about feeling trapped and wanting to end things, while Wallace pleaded for another chance, warning her not to ruin everything. The messages grew more intense in the days leading up to her disappearance. One, sent just 3 days before she vanished, read, "If you tell anyone, it will destroy both of us." Investigators now had a new person of interest, someone with motive, opportunity, and a connection to Emily that no one else knew about. Colleagues at the hospital confirmed they had seen the two arguing in the parking lot the previous week. When questioned, Wallace admitted they had been involved but insisted it had ended peacefully. He described Emily as emotionally fragile and suggested she might have run away to escape stress. His calm demeanor only made detectives more suspicious. A search of his office revealed a framed photo of Emily hidden behind medical charts in a drawer, as well as a set of trail maps of Pine Ridge. Though not enough for an arrest, the findings shifted the direction of the investigation completely. For the first time, police began to believe Emily hadn't met a stranger that day. She'd met someone she knew. In the weeks following the discovery of Emily's secret relationship, investigators worked tirelessly to connect Dr. Andrew Wallace to the crime scene. The breakthrough came when forensic analysts retrieved data from Emily's fitness tracker, which had been found near her crushed phone. The device recorded her exact hiking route that day, showing her pace, elevation, and heartbeat patterns. Everything appeared normal until the trail abruptly ended at a point just off the main path, where her heart rate spiked dramatically before stopping entirely. The timestamp matched the estimated time of her death. At first, detectives assumed this would only confirm the time frame, but then another piece of technology provided a chilling coincidence. Wallace owned a smartwatch that synced to his hospital account for health tracking. When subpoenaed, his location data revealed that his device had registered movement within the same coordinates as Emily's, only minutes after her fitness tracker stopped. He claimed he had gone hiking alone that day to clear his head, insisting it was pure coincidence they were in the same area. The explanation didn't convince anyone. Investigators mapped both GPS trails side by side. Their paths converged precisely at the point where Emily stopped. It was impossible to ignore. Yet, without direct evidence linking him to her death, police couldn't arrest him. Wallace's composure began to crack as media coverage intensified. He told reporters he was being framed by obsessive detectives, chasing a narrative. Meanwhile, Emily's friends came forward with new information. She had planned to meet someone that day to end things for good. That message, found in her deleted texts, was sent hours before her final hike. The more investigators uncovered, the clearer it became that Emily's death was not an accident. It was the result of a meeting that turned fatal. Detectives were convinced Dr. Wallace was involved, but they needed something solid, something irrefutable. That's when they turned their attention to a wildlife camera stationed by park rangers near the area where Emily's body was later found. The camera, meant to monitor deer movement, should have captured anyone passing through the trail that day. However, when investigators reviewed the footage, they discovered a troubling gap. The recordings from noon to 3 in the afternoon, the exact window when Emily disappeared, were missing. The files had been deleted manually, not by system error. Forensic technicians examined the device closely and discovered faint fingerprints on the inside of the battery compartment. When processed, they matched Dr. Wallace. His explanation was weak. He claimed he had once adjusted the camera during a previous hike, though rangers confirmed it had only been installed 2 weeks earlier. The evidence painted a clearer picture. He had tampered with it to hide his movements. Still, the defense argued there was no direct proof he killed her. The prosecutor couldn't build a case solely on circumstantial evidence. Public frustration grew as each revelation seemed to stop short of justice. News outlets covered the story relentlessly, calling it the trail mystery. Students at Emily's university protested outside the hospital where Wallace worked, demanding his suspension. Under mounting pressure, he took a leave of absence and disappeared from public view. Investigators searched his cabin outside town and found torn pages from a personal journal, some burned in a fireplace. One surviving page contained only 3 words: "She knew everything." The haunting message renewed the determination of detectives who believed Emily had uncovered something about Wallace he couldn't risk being exposed. They just didn't yet know what proof she might have left behind, or where it was hidden. Months passed, and the case seemed frozen in uncertainty. The community had moved on, but detectives still revisited the evidence, searching for anything they might have missed. Then, in late spring, a severe drought lowered the creek's water level to its lowest point in decades. A park ranger doing a patrol noticed something metallic glinting beneath a pile of stones near where Emily's body had been discovered. When the object was retrieved, it turned out to be a small, mud-covered GoPro camera. Its casing was cracked, but the memory card was still intact. Hope stirred in the investigation for the first time in months. Technicians carefully restored the footage, piecing together corrupted files until a playable segment emerged. The video began with Emily walking along the trail, her breathing steady, the forest quiet except for the wind. She turned the camera toward herself, smiling faintly, as if documenting another peaceful hike. Then a man's voice called her name from somewhere off-screen. She turned the camera, and for a brief second, the lens captured the unmistakable face of Dr. Andrew Wallace. The next moments were chaos. The video blurred as Emily stumbled backward, the camera tumbling to the ground. There was movement, a shadow, a reflection of an arm lifting something heavy, and then the feed went dark. The final frame froze on the surface of the creek, showing ripples spreading outward, the faint echo of impact audible before silence returned. When confronted with the footage, Wallace confessed. He admitted striking Emily during an argument after she threatened to expose their relationship and his unethical behavior at the hospital. He had hidden the camera, believing it lost forever. The confession brought closure, but not comfort. Pine Ridge Trail remained quiet, renamed Emily's Path, a haunting reminder of trust betrayed and truth uncovered too late.